Okay, we're back. We're live. We're ThinkTech. We're doing Asia in Review today on a given Thursday, followed by Asia in Review with David Day, I should mention. And today we have Stephanie Wu, who was a lawyer here in Hawaii on the Honolulu-Shanghai, is that the right way to put it?
That's good.
Hawaii-Shanghai lawyer exchange program.
Hawaii-China, actually.
Hawaii-China.
Hawaii-China.
Okay,
That's
thinking big.
That's
Everybody
right.
in China thinks big. That's what it is. Okay, with Stephanie Wu, and she's from the Huye
会业 law firm.
Law Firm
That's right.
In Shanghai.
in Shanghai, an important law firm. So I say to you, ni hao ma.
很好，谢谢你呢。
Okay.
Aloha.
Bukachi. Aloha.
Mahalo.
And the handsome person to Stephanie's left, stage left, audience right, okay, is Mark Shklov, attorney and man about town in the the American Savings Building.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here. Good to see you again.
So you are associated with the Hawaii-China Lawyer Exchange Program. You were there at the outset. Can you tell the people what it is?
Well, about 10 years ago, when I'd been traveling to China for a while, I was having dinner one night with a senior lawyer in Shanghai who I got to know over a couple years. Richard Xu is his name.
HSU.
HSU, great guy.
I don't know how you pronounce that.
I'm not sure
How do you pronounce the H in shoe?
Well, it takes a
Don't
lot
answer.
It takes a lot of practice. And he asked me at that point, after we got to know each other and established a relationship, if myself and perhaps some other lawyers in Hawaii would be interested in starting a program where young Chinese lawyers could come and spend a few months and make relationships, learn about how we practice law in the United States, and exchange ideas and thoughts. And perhaps at some point we could send a Hawaii lawyer back to do the same thing. So I said, sure. Came back here, talked with Roger Epstein at the Cades Law Firm, Larry Foster, the dean of the law school at the time, and a few other lawyers, and they all said yes. And so we started doing it. And Stephanie is our ninth or
how
10th.
time flies.
Ninth lawyer, I think. that
And we've had most or all of them right here at this table to
right,
do.
Right.
Yeah.
We've all done shows, I think almost all of them.
Yeah.
Not maybe,
Yeah.
almost all.
Yeah.
So, and it's been a lot of fun. We've had a good time, and we have established a program that seems to be successful.
Excellent. So you are the latest the latest iteration in a program of what, 10 or so, and it has been successful. I mean, case study has been an important part of it. Mark's been an important part of it. You know, the kind of treatment you are getting from Mark is the treatment that all the others got too. I hope you're not jealous.
Actually, well, I enjoyed, I have a weekly session that Mark actually endorses, and it usually runs for half a day. And Mark would take me for a tour to various courts and to participate in hearings. And then all along the way, Mark would explain to me what's going on over there and what are the practices as I see it. And then we would do some comparison. That's been very fascinating and enriching for me. And also, you know, on top of that, Mark would also expose me to cultural aspects of what Hawaii has to offer. So far it's been very impressive experience for me.
So, you know, we are here in this is the before. It's not really before, but it's the early part. Okay, and at the late part, in late June, we'll catch you again, Stephanie, and see how your perceptions have changed, grown, you know, in the period. So it's a before and after kind of exposure. So in exploring the before, tell us about yourself. You come from Shanghai, your family is from Shanghai. How did you get involved in this program? Where were you then before this transformation experience that you are having now?
And talk a little bit about your practice and
That too.
what you do.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in Shanghai, which is eastern coastal city of China, and was perceived as the economic center of China. So I did my schooling there, and I worked there until I became a lawyer. The law firm I'm in has 7 offices all across China, and we basically deal with business law, all aspects of
Total
business
number
law.
of lawyers?
We got over 100 attorneys. That does not include our administrative and supporting staff. And we have 70 attorneys alone in our Shanghai office, which is the head office. And we also got a Atlanta office, and we are soon.
You say Atlanta?
Yeah,
Is that just south of Shanghai?
across the Pacific only.
See, that's the thing that people may not fully appreciate, that Chinese law firms have come of age, and that they are not only in China, they have branch offices hither and yon, including Atlanta, Georgia. That's the American Georgia.
Right. Yes, and we are perhaps soon to open another office in Toronto, Canada. But I think this is, we are enjoying the fruit of a globalized village whereby networks are becoming smaller and smaller, and the movement of people are just easier.
What kind of
Easily
law do you
accessible.
do specifically?
Yes, I mainly deal with business law in the areas of dispute resolution. That includes mediation, litigation, arbitration, mainly commercial disputes. So another area of law that I do is corporate and merger and acquisition. A third area that I do is antitrust and competition law, which is quite an emerging area of law in China.
How long have you been practicing?
I've been practicing for 4 years, actually. So
Those
relatively
are complex areas.
Yes, but still challenging and interesting.
Oh, yes.
If you
for
get
sure.
to be in that niche area, I mean, certainly it's a very small niche, so not everybody are interested or have the chance to be in their area. But once you're in, I think it's just like any other areas.
Sure. But they're not necessarily directly connected either, you know? Mergers and acquisitions and dispute resolution, those are not something that, there's no natural connection there. Not here, anyway.
Well, actually, I think it is somehow connected because, for example, there are 3 arms of antitrust law. One of them is merger control. So it deals with mergers and acquisition that reaches a certain threshold that usually is sizable. So it is certainly an aspect of mergers and acquisition.
Well, I mean, I find that very interesting. And when I saw your resume that Mark sent me some time ago, I was impressed right there. That anybody would be, because to have somebody who specializes in a defined area like mergers and acquisitions or antitrust, that's very advanced business. That means that what's going on in China is very advanced business. And I can see how important it is in a growing economy to have a lawyer who knows how to put companies together, take them apart, deal with the government on having too many at the same time. This is Wall Street stuff. Am I right about this? Is that the way it is? You do have mergers, you do have acquisitions of large companies, and you do run into antitrust issues when you merge and acquire them?
Actually, our clients include companies of various levels and various sizes and various industries. So say any small or medium-sized enterprises can have merger and acquisition activities. So it is quite often to bump into, actually. In terms of antitrust, it is quite new. So on that area, I'm cooperating with attorneys of our firm who is also specialized in that area. And one of the specialties of firm is that we have an antitrust center that we do research, and we also advise clients on projects, and we have our client alerts that we send out periodically on that aspect.
Sounds just like an American firm.
Well, we're trying to be basically American firms or UK firms. They are leading the way.
You represent American clients and UK clients?
Yes, I do have US and UK clients.
And the offices in Atlanta and Toronto, as it is, or as it will be, those represent Chinese firms. So in each case, you're having a global experience.
Yes, I think so. Anyways, I deal with, or rather, the firm. Most of the lawyers deal with clients that, they are business persons. They may have their own business in U.S. and also they have their business in China, or they're seeking to do business with China. So the interactions are inevitably cross-border and international, let's say.
That's the way it is now, isn't it?
Yes, I think
Only
so.
in the last few years it's really come to that.
Jay, I think what you're seeing here too is China has grown quite a bit.
Yes.
And a lot of people are going to be very surprised at what Stephanie says about the growth in China. Law firms have in the past 20 to 10 years, 20 to 10 years she has 100 lawyers in her firm, which is not uncommon.
Yes.
In China.
Yes. Well, it reminds me of, the discussion I had originally when I met Richard Xu in Shanghai, and David Mao was there. And I think it was David explained to me that in the past, the multinational American and British firms would act as a wholesaler, an intermediary firm. So if I was an American company and wanted to do business in China, I would go to them, American firms, deal with an American lawyer, and he would put me in touch with a firm like Wei Ye.
That's right. Get in there.
Keep practicing.
Keep working.
That's right.
Okay, and they would take large hourly rates, and they would have sort of an override of what was going on. And I think in the original development of these Chinese firms, the idea was we don't need to deal with a middleman. We want to have a direct clientele contact in the U.S. and Europe, and we'll handle it ourselves. Thank you very much. And that has happened.
And why not?
Why not?
Feel
That's
the
only
same way
fair.
here,
And it's interesting. This all comes off the what do they call it? The spheres of influence in 1911, where all these European countries, had little sections of Shanghai.
Well, I think a lot of my Chinese friends have expressed that very.
Is that right?
Is that the large law firms from America or UK come in and they want spheres of influence too, and
No
wait a
need
minute,
for that.
Times have changed from that.
Yeah, so it's wonderful to see you do this, and we are so happy to know you and have you as part of this program.
Thank you,
And,
my
and
pleasure.
I want to assure you, this is lifelong. This is not just for an hour or a few months. It's forever.
I'm sure it's gonna left a forever mark on
So
me.
people think, that when they get off the plane in China, they think so much energy. At 2 o'clock in the morning, there are people welding on the top of construction sites, and it's something is happening in every direction all the time, and they're so impressed with that. And I just wonder if that happens at your law firm too, the Wei Ye law firm. If there are people working at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's a very hard, physical, demanding experience to practice law in Shanghai.
Sometimes they would actually, although it only happens when you have urgent matters to deal with. Well, usually I think it's important for people to also have their own lifestyle, to have certain time carved out for themselves and their family so that they can live happily and healthily. And in the end, it's going to serve their clients better. So, but it does happen a lot that we have attorneys working on weekends and very long extended daily hours up to 2 or 3 o'clock or even 5 o'clock if they need to send something out or get a project done. Yeah.
I remember when it used to be that way here.
Okay, really?
How could you tell a partner at a law firm as opposed to an associate? Well, the partner was the one who came in on Saturday and Sunday.
Well,
Anyway.
I think that Stephanie works on on projects while she's here too, right?
Yes.
Back in your office. So her day actually is kind of long, right?
It's a
Yes,
multinational
pretty
day.
long.
So she starts work here, and then you do things here, and
Yeah.
then at about 3 o'clock or so,
Yes.
you start your China work. Is that
That's
right?
right.
Why don't you
because-
describe what happens?
Yeah, so over here I was hosted by Kate. They have an office for me, which was very nicely set out.
It's Cade Schutte,
Kate
Fleming and
Shetty,
Wright.
yes,
Okay.
that's the preeminent law firm
Yes, it
in
is.
Hawaii, yes. So that's a very comfortable working environment, and I can do a lot of things over there. So I came in the morning, maybe 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, depends, and then I could do some preparatory works, actually, or things that I haven't quite finished yet the day before. And when 3 o'clock China wakes up, then I already got some of the mails sent out or some of the work done, so that and the people in my office, they will start working based on what I send them. Just we're trying to have a seamless sort of,
I guess so.
yeah.
Plus,
But
she has some projects that she's working on here at the same time.
yes, it's part of my experience here.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it's pretty busy, Stephanie. Are you enjoying that?
I hope so, because I'm hoping to enjoy the outcome of that as well as the experience itself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as a lawyer, it's almost a prerequisite that you have to multitask and you have to, work under pressure. So we're quite used to that, and I really want to, make the best use of my time over here, and to do some work that actually can, reflect the spirit of this program, and to also contribute something, promoting our mutual interest.
That's great. We have so many American TV shows and serials about lawyers, including women lawyers. My favorite one is The Good Wife. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. It's wonderful. Julia Margolis,
Yeah,
I think it
that's
is. They ought to make a Stephanie Wu show.
Be sure to get.
Everybody would watch. Anyway, I want to get the reasons you came in the first place. So there you are, happily practicing, and all of a sudden, you decide you're going to come to Hawaii. How did that happen?
Yes, that was a very nice opportunity brought to me by my mentor, and also
That's
a
Richard
friend
Hsu.
of mine. Yes, Richard
Okay.
Hsu.
Okay.
That's right. Well, he's an amazing person. I mean, he's helped me selflessly, and I see that he's doing the same to other young attorneys as well. Well, he himself has a very special experience and background, and for him to be at the age of late 70s, to expend time and efforts and opening a lot of doors to young lawyers, that's something I admire and respect him a lot. So Richard introduced me to Mark and to Larry and to Roger and some other lawyers while visiting in Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
It was a year ago, I think more than a year ago. And so Richard recommended me to this program. And he's been actually giving me various thoughts and encouraging me to take this program. And so far, I'm just very grateful.
Well, he's kind of the father of the program, he and Mark.
Yeah.
And he's a man who has done a lot of things out of kindness in his life. You think that a man so successful would have been, working for money, but I don't think that's it for him.
No.
I think he wants to help people. He's motivated by that.
Yeah.
Mark is the same way, actually.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to, step back for a minute. This is your first trip, which you got here about, a month ago, less, to the U.S., but you speak wonderful English, and that's probably because you studied English in school in China. But it's also because you had some time in the UK. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, right. Well, I spent a year in London. I actually was enrolled in an LLM program, competition law. That's how I got into the antitrust competition.
That was your entry point, yeah.
Yes, that's right. So it was a wonderful experience, being able to compare the certain aspects of law between China and the UK, and the UK, of course, being the founder of the common law system.
Yes.
So just to be there and experience the environment surrounded by my classmates and my professors. It's a unique experience.
It's the right sequence, Go back to the English common law, see where it began, Magna Carta, what have you. Okay?
That's right.
And then come here and see what we did with it, which in some cases is good, but in other cases maybe not.
First time I see somebody perceive it that way, but that's an interesting note, actually.
What about Israel? You spent some time in Israel also.
Yes, before I became a lawyer, I used to be working for the Israeli consulate in Shanghai, so I have quite some proximity to the Israeli community. So Israel, anyway, is a familiar country to me. So even after I left the Israeli consulate and became a lawyer, I used to be a legal counsel for an Israeli high-tech company. So that took me to spend several months in Israel, which I would, travel between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem by myself and living like local,
Oh, that's
So,
wonderful.
Yeah, Israel is, for most of Chinese, it's still a rare destination. So it's
Yeah.
quite a interesting experience.
So what do you think of Israel? I mean, people have varying views of it.
That's right.
What was your experience in terms of dealing with the people and, absorbing the culture, what have you?
Yes, I see a lot of common things among Israelis and Chinese in the way that they both have a lot of business acumen. They both attach great importance to family and education.
The Jews have an old reference to the 10 lost tribes of Israel. There were originally 12, and 10 of them got lost. Nobody knows where they went. And some people feel they went to China.
It could.
It could be.
I think the earliest historic record of Jews living in China can date back to over 1,000 years ago in the Song Dynasty, in a city called Kaifeng, which was in the central part of China. There were actually traces where Jews, got settled down there and merged into the local community and acquiring even Chinese names, family names.
And these Jews came along the Silk Road. They came from the Middle East on the Silk Road.
I suppose so.
Yeah, who knows? It's too long ago, yeah. But are people in China generally familiar with the story of the Shanghai Ghetto, the Jews that came from Germany after Kristallnacht and settled in, try to survive the war in Shanghai?
Yes, in Shanghai, people are very familiar with that, actually. And since Shanghai is an immigrant city, so people are quite, let's say, susceptible to the idea of Jewish people or Jewish values. So, for example, in the Shanghai dialect, if you say someone is very Jewish, then you know that he's talking about that guy has a lot of business acumen.
Gee, they say the same things here in this country.
And is that a positive thing?
It can be, but it's neutral. Yeah,
Okay.
it can be used
It may
as a
not be
positive.
neutral in
Depends
this
on the
country.
context, actually. Yeah.
How interesting. We're
Yes,
going to take a
and-
short break, Stephanie. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about your experiences here, some of the things you've learned and seen, your early reactions, which we will compare later to your later reactions. That's Stephanie Wu. She's with the Hui Ye
that's right.
law firm in Shanghai. She's a Shanghainese person. And Mark Shklov, who is her uncle, at least for a period of time. And he's a lawyer downtown, and he's part of the China-Hawaii Legal Exchange Program, which brought Stephanie here in the first place. This is Asia in Review. I'm Jay Fidell. We're talking about, this is an odd name, but we'll get to it, career tracks for Chinese exchange lawyers in Hawaii. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Martin Despang, and I'm the host together with the one and only Ali Yamashita, and our show is called Urban Transcendence. And Urban Transcendence is about identifying where we have a unique situation of a vibrant city in one of the most beautiful natural environments. So how these two can coincide, sometimes conflict, how they could find reciprocity in the 21st century is what we're excited about. And we're planning on bringing in a diverse body of guests, both from the arts and the science and the established and the wise and the emerging generation. So hope you will join us. We'll always be on Thursdays from 1 to 2 p.m.
We're back. We're live. This is Asia in Review. I'm Jay Fidell. We're talking about career tracks for Chinese exchange lawyers in Hawaii with Stephanie Wu, who is one of them. She's from the Huye law firm.
Huye, that's right.
Huye? Huye.
Huye.
Huye. I can do it. And Mark Shklov, who is an attorney at law here and part of that program. Mark, you were going to ask Stephanie about language.
We were talking earlier about her language, and she speaks English perfectly. And some people are surprised that Chinese can speak so well in English. Okay, but what is the language training in China, and does that help you to speak English, or as you become a lawyer, or in your career? And is that my impression is it's good to learn a language, a foreign language in China. Is there any feeling that it's not Chinese enough, though? Is there any fallout about that? So
Yeah, well, basically, I think it's evolving. The approach to teaching kids English is evolving. I will relate to my experience, my generation. So we started in grade 4. So it was mandatory. Everybody will have English classes, and class is actually one of the 3 major classes that you're gonna have, and you need to keep going, from grade 4 until through college, basically. So it exists not only in the mandatory compulsory education duration, but also in high schools and college.
So you start and you continue to take English all the way through.
From 4th grade.
From 4th grade.
Yeah.
But now they have actually advanced the time. I have a son, and he started to learn from grade 1 in elementary. And it is not uncommon for parents to send them to English classes tutored by foreigners from English-speaking countries, even before they reached the age of grade 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've had this recurrent dream that one day I would go to China and get a job teaching English. But if everyone in the country speaks English already,
except for the babies, you're going to be teaching the babies.
But you're going to be still highly competitive because you come with English ability and you're a lawyer. That's legal English, which is sometimes considered a language different than English.
Oh, yes. That's global.
So it's still strong to learn English. That's still important, or is there any change in that?
I think the importance is getting stronger, even stronger. I think before English, the language was Russian. It was my parents' generation. But then English has replaced Russian in school, and it's been still going on.
How about French and Spanish, Italian, anything like that?
Actually, other languages other than English is considered a second foreign language. So mostly it was taken by students who got a major that's in language. Then they would do more languages. Otherwise, English is always the first choice.
Well, it sounds to me like I'm sure you were thinking of the same thought that learning English is to become global. So, because if you can do that, you can get along in a lot of places. You can do business in a lot of places that you couldn't otherwise. And although one day we may find the world speaking Mandarin, for the moment, much of the world speaks English. So this is a globalism type initiative, and I wonder where that comes from. Is this something the government has encouraged, incentivized? Is this something the government has ordered, commanded, set up in regulation? Or is this something that just comes grassroots from the people who have decided globalism is good and therefore we should have language to do it?
Well, I can't say from the government's point of view because I was not a legislator in that regard, especially when English was in the curriculum at least 20 or 30 years ago. But what I can say is the imposition of this of English learning in the curriculum is in line with people's expectations. I mean, it's obvious that you got a lot more chances to, bump into situations whereby English, other than Chinese, is used as the language, basically. And as practicing lawyers, we know that however a cross-border transaction relates to maybe other countries like Germany, French, the contract will always be in English. So
So you have to speak both kinds of English, the regular kind and the legal kind.
that's only the context of the legal world, let's say. And of course, the English-speaking world has produced a lot of attractions for people to cling to the idea of grasping the ability to speak English. You produced wonderful movies, music, novels.
Sure.
So
There's
yes,
value out there with that.
yeah, that's right.
The other thing is that you were in England. You were part of an LLM program.
Yes.
And indeed, there are LLM programs, all through Europe and through the United States and maybe elsewhere too, where Chinese lawyers and lawyers talk about lawyers come in order to learn the law of that place, the language of that place, and that's another expression of globalism as I see it, because if you want to do cross-border, multinational transactions, you really have to have that kind of experience. So it sounds like most lawyers want to do that in China, and many do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe, how ubiquitous that is?
A lot of lawyers, increasingly more, they came with backgrounds of legal education in China and another degree from the US and the UK or other countries, Australia, for example. Yeah. But again, the majority of them are from English-speaking countries and common law countries. Yeah. It certainly helps because in practice we see that applicable law, if it's not China, then it's almost always UK, England and Wales, or US law.
So seems to be a consensus that those places have value
Yes.
in terms of learning
They have
law
a
that might be useful in
reliable
multinational.
legal system.
Yeah.
But although the trend now is that with Chinese companies becoming larger, and especially when they are buyers, investors, and so far as they are aware of the importance of the applicable law aspect, sometimes they would ask to have PRC law, laws of China as the applicable law. So I think that's also changing. It's an evolving situation.
Is it changing toward that or away from that?
More and more, I think.
Changing
Toward.
applicable law being PRC law.
Yes, because they got more leverage.
Sure, it's a tactical thing.
Explain that. Explain what that means, because I think that's a new concept for us.
Yes.
Okay. I think between in a transaction, both parties say one is a Chinese party, one is a U.S. company. The Chinese party is a buyer, investor, and if he's legally, minded, then he will know the importance of dispute resolution clauses. For example, one of them, one aspect would be applicable law. So in the past, what's common is that you have a sort of a template contract whereby it's already inserted that the applicable law would be US law, for example. And now maybe the Chinese party will cause the other party to accept a clause that if disputes arise, Chinese law will, apply.
So in the past, it sounds like when that conversation happened, I mean, putting aside other bargaining points, and other leverages in the deal, but it sounds like in the past, the parties would agree that U.S. law was relatively stable. It was coin of the realm. It was an international body of law, and there were plenty of places to enforce it, and there were reasonable courts to enforce it or arbitration, mediation arrangements. And so it went there because that was sort of coin of the realm in most places. But now you have the same conversation, and the Chinese partner in the deal says, wait a minute, we have good law. It's right. I mean, you got to tell me yes or no. We have good law too, and our law has come of age. We have the rule of law. We have precedent. We have reliability. We have fair courts. We have a system that we can both rely on. So it's changed, and therefore I want to use PRC law because I'm more familiar with it.
Or sometimes simply because they want it for convenience. Because it's their
They don't want to
home
travel.
country.
Yeah.
China is their home country.
Yeah.
If there's anything happened, they have more resources, to resort to.
Yeah. So it
than a
sounds like
foreign
this is somewhere in
country.
the middle. When that conversation happens, it's a trade-off point, probably, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I'll
Yeah.
give you this, but I want Chinese law to apply.
But it's no longer a deal breaker either, is
Right.
what I'm hearing.
Right, right,
That,
right. Good point.
Foreign
Yeah.
business people are now have more faith in China law than perhaps in the past.
Right.
Yes,
So-
it could be. Yes, that's
An
very
American
correct.
company wouldn't see it as a deal breaker. American company might agree.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
That's a change.
that happened. Yes.
Okay, we can take a short break, and then we'll talk about exactly what your perceptions are and how your trip is evolving in terms of your integration with the United States. Whoa. Okay, that's Stephanie Wu of the Huye law firm.
That's right.
Huye law firm in Shanghai. Mark Shklov, an attorney at law here, who is part of the program that brought her here, which is the China-Hawaii Exchange Lawyers program. And we're talking about career tracks, although we're talking about much more here on Asia in Review. We'll be right back.
I'm Hong Jiang, host for Asia in Review on Tuesdays.
And I'm David Day, host for Asian Review on Thursdays. Both of us broadcast our respective shows at 4 p.m.
And my topics tend to deal with questions related to environment, culture, history, and sometimes human rights.
And my shows tend to be on international business, foreign policy, geopolitics, and national security. And you can watch our shows live on the ThinkTech website at thinktechhawaii.com.
And you can also watch us on YouTube or Olalo.
So come join us on Thursdays at 4 p.m. I'm David Day.
And on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., I'm Hong Jiang.
Aloha.
Hello.
Asia in Review, I'm Jay Fidell. We're talking about the Chinese Hawaii Exchange Lawyer Program with Shanghai lawyer Stephanie Wu. I keep doing it because I'm practicing, of the Huye law firm in Shanghai, and Mark Shklov, an attorney at law who's a principal, a founder of the program. So, to go to your point during the break, Mark, Stephanie, you're going to be teaching and writing articles. Aside from just doing law cases, you're going to be engaging with the local community here and trying to tell them about, the international practice you're involved in. What are you going to tell them?
Oh, I'm actually working on 1 or 2 articles. Hopefully, I will finish all of them before I leave.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm aiming to do. Additionally, I will also give a talk at the International Law Session of the Hawaiian State Bar Association. My topic will be about the contract enforceability in China. So if you, for a contract that involves the U.S. party and the China party, you want to make sure that the contract can be enforced in China. So what are the things that you need to look out for?
Okay. You know, I might insist on the applicability of American law. I might do that. And I might insist on arbitration mediation here in Honolulu. But I also might insist that you be the arbitrator.
Well, I don't have any objection to that.
Well, now that's you brought up a good point. Now, how are we going to help here in our state? If we wanted to would it ever be possible, Stephanie, to put an arbitration clause that says Honolulu will be the site of the arbitration? And I don't care if it's PRC law or American law, but is there any chance of that, or is that something we can work towards? How can we develop Hawaii in this respect? I mean, that's just one idea that came out of what you were talking about.
I think sometimes it's not a purely a legal decision. I think it also has a business concern over there, whether such a clause will be accepted by the parties.
So is there any chance we could have Hawaii, though? I mean, be the site of the arbitration? I doubt if anybody's ever thought about that.
Be the place for the arbitration.
The place.
It could certainly be possible if
we're right between the two countries, you know.
Yeah, and Hawaii is the closest point of the U.S. to China.
Yeah.
Certainly it is, because for arbitration, it is quite relevant, because convenience of hearings is something that people would consider. So for it saves costs, and arbitration basically it's a commercial driven adjudication mechanism. This is how I see it. So there are a lot of commercial concerns. So in terms of cost and convenience. So if Hawaii can fit well in such concerns.
Well, I want you to put that in all your contracts.
Yeah. Next time you're sitting there negotiating a deal, remember this conversation.
So we have to have Hawaii, Honolulu, as the site of any arbitration.
Okay, I suppose you're going to see more and more of that appearing in contracts.
So tell us about your reactions, perceptions, the aha moments, the surprises. I was telling you before, I go to China and it's wow, I'm blown away, by what I see and feel around me, and I'm just enlightened. Every time it happens the same way over and over again. It's the same thing over and over again. But what is your reaction? You come here, you've been to UK, you've been to Israel, but now it's not only the US, it's Hawaii. This is a unique place. What is your reaction? Getting off the plane, coming down into Cades, spending time with Mark, all the things you've done. What's your reaction?
That's right. I mean, to me, it's quite odd that I did my U.S. trip at so late a time, but I'm glad that I finally made it. And I never had any cultural shock when I came here. The only thing I can feel is everybody is so friendly and warm and open. And I did expect to see a lot of Japanese, but I'm even more surprised that about the number of people from the Orient that are visiting or living or rise to prominence in Hawaii. So I think this is the place that is very tolerant and very open to alien culture and visitors.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I think Mark and I and everybody here knows the sort of melting pot aspect of it. We take it for granted sometimes, but we deal with everybody. We're completely colorblind, and what's really wonderful, and the time you feel it is when you leave. I go traveling on the mainland, and I find myself looking for Asian faces. I need to look at Asian faces. My wife is the same way. I mean, and you know, because she's Asian, so it's a little different. But and I wonder if that's part of what you're saying, is that this is the melting pot, and it is kind of remarkable that people in the society here all seem to be, you know, engaged
Yeah.
with each other. You don't find that so much anywhere else, not to the same degree.
That's right. I think I'm pretty lucky because in my experience, I'm certainly comparing my Israeli experience with my Chinese experience, and I can see that people are connected in a different way. Whereby Israel is a place that does not have that much of hierarchy. Everybody can get connected to each other, you know, just by one introduction or you know, another layer of
Degree
people.
of sanguinity.
Yeah, and I found it quite, you know, it's the same in Hawaii, especially, and people are with very good manners, if you will. It's very easy to make friends, and and people here are willing, like Mark, like yourself, and Roger and Larry. You would all, you know, go out to help me actually build my own connections, my own networks. So that's amazing actually thing.
Yeah, well, we're not a big city. You know, we go to New York and you wouldn't run into anybody you knew for weeks maybe. Here you run into the people you know every 5 minutes, and I like that. I mean, I'm sure Mark likes it too. Now, what about the judges, the lawyers, the institutions, the legislative people that you've met? I mean, how do you see them? Any reactions on that?
Mark's been taking me to various courts, circuit court, district court, and the at the inaugural the swearing ceremony of
Judge Wilson.
of Justice Wilson.
Oh,
yes.
good.
At
I'm
the
glad you
Supreme,
went
at
to
the Supreme
that.
Court.
Glad you went to that.
Yes.
And you know the story and the controversy and all that.
That
Good
was
that
part
you
of
saw
her
that happen.
studies. She had to learn
That's
the
right.
background.
I
Good.
had to do some homework.
Good.
obviously.
That's really wonderful that you saw that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so,
experience.
you know, the other nice thing was this: at every court we went to, at the end of the hearing or whatever we saw, the attorney in the court would talk to us, and because Stephanie was from China, they took
Sure.
some time
Sure.
Yeah.
to
That's right.
explain the background,
Sure.
which was even I thought that was pretty nice.
Why
you know?
is that, Mark? I find it's everywhere. It's, you know, when they know who you are, that you're from China, they want to help you. Why is that?
They're curious. I think.
Curious.
Curious, maybe. I mean, they're
They want to get close to, you know, this enormous new
Well,
nation.
yeah.
You know, that's what they want.
We've talked a lot about that, and this is China's time. I mean, this is a big time for China. So people are interested in China.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
But I also think there's kind of this Aloha spirit too. I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's a hospitality thing.
Yeah. People are quite open and they want to be helpful. I think that's part of our culture too.
Yeah, and being lawyers, we're all colleagues in a way. So
Yeah.
That's a good point.
one of us.
Okay, and how about you know, I don't know how to frame this, but the general business community, the society of Hawaii, what kind of reactions do you get from that? Say the life on Bishop Street, life among the lawyers at Cades, life among the people you deal with in doing your work in Cades, in buying something in a store, and I mean, what kind of reaction is there more to this?
People, first of all, are very well mannered. They're very polite, and they're always willing to help. I ride buses when
Good.
I'm staying in
This is
Hawaii.
an important thing to do.
And so the bus drivers, I found them to be very friendly and, you know, willing to help because I'm always asking them for directions, you know. And the professional people, the lawyers that I met, they have that attitude too, you know. The lawyers at Cades, for example, rather than, you know, the usual very strict image that you would perceive of lawyers, especially at, you know, top law firms, you find them to be quite, you know, personal and they're very laid back in a way, and I find quite comfortable to go to them and chat with them about cultures, about little happenings, during my stay here, and ask professional questions.
How about the arts? How about the media in Hawaii? I mean, it must be very different to turn on the television in Shanghai at 6 o'clock and turn on the television here at 6 o'clock, assuming you're home.
Yes, indeed. I was, on arrival, I was exposed to 2 theaters, which were two of those theater experiences were both actually exposed to me by you, through your friends. So the first one was Showboat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
a
good.
very
That was good. Yeah.
nice experience, especially usually you don't see them in China. And the other one, that's also very impressive, from a very unique aspect of discussing, but I do not want to mention the name for this show.
Oh, I
but
know the one.
certainly,
Yeah. We don't have to
yes.
mention names, but this was a play downtown in the Marx Theater. A couple
But
weeks
that's
ago.
right. I certainly have very good affections for this
As long as you
wonderful
had a good
production.
time.
Yes,
Well, I want to ask one thing about air quality.
yes.
Okay, I
that's
mean,
right.
we can't let this go by. What's the comparison, Shanghai and Honolulu air quality?
As a matter of fact, just by by looking at the sky, the colors are different. So that's something I expect to see in Hawaii before I came here, and it's the same as I saw it.
Yeah.
So
So is China
I
gonna
think
do
I'm gonna.
something? We all know
miss.
China has some problems with air.
Yes.
Are they working on changing?
It's pretty sad to see the air quality has deteriorated. I guess that's part of the price you have to pay for economic development.
Sure.
But I think the government, they are taking steps to actually improve air quality. And I haven't read into it, but I think China has enacted a new environmental law, which Larry mentioned to me yesterday when I met him. So steps are being taken actually to improve that.
I feel like we're related, Stephanie. Over the years and over the miles, somehow we are related, especially in Hawaii with so many Chinese people here. And they came, 150 plus years ago, and they're part of the landscape, the fabric of our culture in the state. Anyway, we're out of time, sorry guys. But we'll continue this conversation after you've had some more digestion of the things around you.
Okay.
Thank you, Stephanie
Thank
Wu
you.
of the Huiya law firm in Shanghai. I'll get it.
For those who know Chinese.
And Mark Shklov, attorney at law downtown.
My pleasure.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank
Aloha.
you. My honor.
Aloha.